Hey everyone, today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some cheap and healthy recipe ideas. It has been a while since I filmed one of these videos, but you guys really seemed to enjoy my last one and I really enjoy making it, so I figured I would come and share 3 more recipes with you guys today. These meal ideas are all super simple, really cheap. They all cost about £1 per meal to make, so super affordable, great if you're a student or if you're just living on a budget. They're all really tasty and they all freeze great. So I definitely recommend making these in bulk and then freezing portions. I literally always make 4 portions of all of these meals and then freeze 3 of them. Just makes life so much easier and it saves you cooking another night in the week. I will leave the recipe down in the description with kind of a breakdown of costs and things. I've obviously just made an estimate of how much these things would cost because it's going to vary depending on where you live and what shop you shop in. So take it with a pinch of salt. They're all roughly around £1 and it is worked out by meal rather than by the total amount of ingredients, if that makes sense. So if, for example, I buy a pot of pesto but only use a spoonful of it, I've worked out kind of the cost of what that spoonful would be before anyone comments saying like, how could this meal cost £1 when you spent £2 on mince? That is why, because I've broken it down to how much it would actually cost for 1 portion of that food, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. I really hope you guys enjoy these recipes. If you try any of them out, please let me know, and I'm going to crack on with the first recipe, which is sweet potato and black bean chili. So to make this recipe, I started by dicing up my onion and adding that to a large pan with a little bit of oil. I then peeled and diced my sweet potatoes and I put them on a plate and put them in the microwave for about 6 minutes. This is a major hack if you don't already do this to cook your sweet potatoes. It softens them like you would when you were boiling it, but it just saves the hassle of getting out the pan and boiling water. So I put these in for about 6 minutes until they were soft. While the sweet potatoes were in the microwave, I roughly chopped up my mushrooms and then I also drained and rinsed my can of beans and my can of lentils. I cooked the onion on the stove for a couple of minutes on medium heat just until they'd softened, and then I added the mushrooms, cooked that down for a couple more minutes, and then I added the sweet potato and the black beans and lentils. I gave this a good mix and then I added the passata, and I also filled up the passata carton about halfway with water and added that as well. Again, gave that a good mix, and then I added some gravy granules to thicken up the sauce and give it some flavour, and I also added half the packet of fajita seasoning. I then gave this a final stir, put the lid on and let it simmer for about 10 minutes while the rice was cooking. And then that is the chili done. It's literally so simple, it requires minimal effort. I obviously served mine with some rice, but you could have this on nachos or you could have it on a potato, whatever you fancy. I also topped mine with some optional avocado and some jalapenos. Obviously the spice level of this chili will depend on the fajita seasoning. I love using fajita seasoning for things like this because it basically puts a bunch of spices in a packet for you. If you did want this spicier, feel free to add some chili flakes or some fresh chili to whop up the heat. But yeah, this is the complete meal. So good, so filling and so healthy. Okay, so the next recipe is one for coconut curry. This is another favourite of mine. I make this all of the time. I will literally throw whatever vegetables I have in my fridge into this. Literally, I've never made the same one twice. So definitely don't feel like you have to use the specific vegetables I've used. Use whatever's your favourite, whatever you have to hand, or any cans of chickpeas and things like that. Everything goes great in this curry. So to make this recipe, I again started by dicing up my onions, and then I also roughly chopped my red pepper and added that to a pan with some oil. I let this soften for a couple minutes on medium heat, and then I pretty much just threw everything else in. So I added the green beans and I added the vegan chicken pieces, gave that a good stir before adding the lentils, the curry powder and the coconut milk. And I also filled the coconut milk can up about halfway with water and added that as well. I then just gave that a really good stir, put the lid on and left it to simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes until the lentils had softened. I love using lentils in curry because they really thicken up the sauce and they make it really creamy. So whatever vegetables I use in this recipe, I will always add dried red lentils to it just to give it the right texture and consistency. But it really is as simple as that. Again, it's basically just throwing it all in a pot and letting it cook. I serve this again with some rice, but you could serve this maybe with some naan bread, some mango chutney. You can jazz it up as much as you like and use whatever vegetables you like. Okay, so the final recipe is my personal favourite, and that is for spaghetti bolognese. This is literally my all-time favourite meal ever. So again, with this recipe, I started with dicing up my onions and adding that to a pan with a little bit of oil. I let this soften for a couple of minutes on medium heat while I chopped up all of the other vegetables. So I diced up my peppers and my mushrooms, and once the onions had softened, I added those to the pan. I then cooked this all down for a couple more minutes until the peppers and mushrooms had softened slightly before adding the mince and the passata. This again is another one of those recipes that's pretty much throw everything in a pot and stir it up. So I literally stirred that all up, added a generous spoonful of pesto and a generous portion of oregano to flavour the bolognese, gave that a good stir, put the lid on and let that simmer while I cooked up the spaghetti. This is another super simple recipe. So once the spaghetti is cooked, I drained it, I added it to my bowl and I topped it with the bolognese. You could obviously serve this with some garlic bread or add some cheese, vegan cheese, a side salad, whatever you fancy. This is another one of those recipes that is just a staple for me. I love having this in the freezer, so when I get home from work, I've already got dinner sorted. It literally will take 10 minutes to kind of cook the spaghetti and reheat the mince. So this is definitely a favourite of mine. So those are the 3 recipes I'm going to be sharing with you guys. They are obviously all super simple. I don't have the energy when I get home from work to do anything too extravagant, so most of the recipes I do are just throw it in a pot and cook it recipes. So I hope if any of you guys maybe were struggling for some cheap meal ideas or some easy meal ideas, have got some inspiration. Definitely let me know if you try any of these recipes out, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!